We sees you when you're sleeping. We knows when you're awake. We know when you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake.
Oh, you muddy fugglers, get in here, sit down. We're going to read some news. I hear a lot about flock cameras lately. Seems to be the surveillance invasion going on in the States. And they did it a lot in London with the ULEZ system, which is a carbon offsetting plan. Are we heading towards the same destination? I'd say probably yes. We'll find out in this article on the Daily Mail, written by Stacey Libertor. Hello there, Stacey. Chilling map shows where more than 117,000 surveillance cameras are hiding in the US. Is your hometown being watched? Yes, probably, I would assume. A nationwide surveillance system may know where you drive, when you leave home, and which places you visit, without you ever realizing you are being watched. More than 117,000 automated license plate readers, ALPRs, are scattered across America according to a map. The roadside devices photograph passing vehicles and record their license plates, locations, and precise time of travel, allowing separate sightings to be pieced together into a detailed journey. Privacy advocates warn the system can create a searchable record of people's everyday movements. While police say the technology helps locate stolen vehicles and criminal suspects, civil liberties groups argue that innocent motorists can also be swept into the system and their movements searched without officers first obtaining a warrant. I guess so, but they are in the public space, so I don't know how you're going to complain about that. California emerged as one of the country's most heavily monitored states, with more than 16,000 readers documented along major roads, at intersections, and on routes leading to populated areas, according to D-Flock, which created the map. Florida followed with 7,169 cameras, Georgia with 7,046, and Illinois with 5,822. Flock's safety devices, which are advanced ALPRs, account for 97,077 of the documented cameras. Nearly 83% of the map's total 117,256. Overall, the database includes devices associated with 85 brands. These chaps and chapettes aren't keen. D-Flock is an open source project that compiles camera locations submitted by members of the public and drawn from sources including OpenStreetMap. However, its database is crowdsourced and does not include every operating reader, meaning areas with more active contributors may appear more heavily monitored than places where fewer cameras have been reported. Garrett Langley, chief executive and co-founder of Flock Safety, said in a previous statement, "I take nothing more seriously than the values we build this company upon, to give cities tools to uphold public safety while enabling accountability and transparency. Public safety does not need to come at the expense of community values." The company has also noted that its ALPRs are not mass surveillance tools, although there are quite a lot of them, surveillancings en masse. So, they capture point-in-time images of license plates on public roadways and cannot track people or vehicles over time. Most data is never accessed and is deleted on a set retention schedule. Flock Safety shared in a blog post. Reviews citing concerns, e.g. protest-related searches or inappropriate search terms, reflect isolated instances across thousands of agencies and millions of searches, not evidence of widespread systemic monitoring or bias built into the technology. Denver city officials said Flock readers had helped police make 352 arrests, recovering more than 250 stolen vehicles, and seized 39 firearms since a pilot program began in early 2024. California emerged as one of the country's most heavily mapped states. What a surprise! What's going on down here? Is this Delaware down here? You seem pretty dark as well. And Rhode Island. What are you doing, Rhode Island? The cameras also reportedly helped officers capture suspects in cases involving murder, sexual assault, and fatal hit and runs, according to the city. Unlike traditional speed or red light cameras, ALPRs can scan every vehicle passing through their field of view, regardless of whether the driver is suspected of committing a crime. Flock's readers convert the images into searchable records that can include a vehicle's license plate, make, model, color, and distinguishing features, along with the time and location it was photographed. The technology is promoted as a tool for finding stolen vehicles, locating missing people, and helping police identify criminal suspects. However, critics claim that it can also be exploited for more intrusive and potentially abusive forms of surveillance. Concerns have intensified following allegations that officers use the system to monitor former partners, documented cases in which incorrect alerts led to innocent motorists being detained, and audits showing that outside agencies searched locally collected records for immigration-related investigations. Is that a bad thing, though? I mean, they're doing it, but other than it being seen as unpopular in certain areas of the mainstream media, immigration-related investigations are popular to some. The company says information is deleted after 30 days by default, although retention periods can vary under local contracts and state laws. Flock also maintains that its customers control access to their information and the searches are logged and can be audited. However, a growing number of American communities are imposing restrictions on the technology or abandoning the company altogether. The American Civil Liberties Union said in June that more than 55 communities had ended Flock contracts during the previous year, citing fears that the technology could enable warrantless surveillance, federal access to locally collected records, and searches without sufficient municipal oversight. While those concerns do not mean such misuse occurred in every community, investigations have documented cases in which outside agencies accessed locally collected information for purposes that officials said violated their policies. In response to pushback, Langley has described criticisms as coordinated attacks from activist groups aiming to defund the police and normalize lawlessness. The Los Angeles Police Department did not renew its contract covering 138 pole-mounted cameras when it expired in July, citing unresolved concerns about civil liberties, data ownership, security, and information sharing. However, the department is reportedly negotiating revised terms with Flock, meaning the move could be a temporary pause rather than a permanent departure. Flock has disputed what it calls misconceptions driving the opposition and said it remains committed to transparency. Dayton, Ohio, cancelled its agreement and began covering 72 cameras with black trash bags after a review uncovered more than 7,000 immigration-related searches by outside agencies, Dayton Daily News reported. City officials described the searches as egregious violations of Dayton's policy prohibiting the system from being used for immigration enforcement. Eugene, Oregon deactivated 57 cameras following public opposition and fears that federal agencies could use the information for immigration enforcement or to monitor activists and vulnerable communities. These seem to be concerns that are mostly shared by people who watch MSNBC and CNN and stuff. So just saying, Daily Mail, that's what you're going with there. The Eugene Police Department said in a statement, the department has identified vulnerabilities and limitations that raise concerns about the system's ability to meet EPD's operational needs, data security requirements, and community expectations. What does it say here? Whatever you allow your governments to do to others, they will eventually do to you. I guess, yes, but in the case of immigration, they're doing it to people who are illegal aliens, so they're not citizens. After further evaluation and internal discussion, the department has decided to discontinue the contract. Syracuse, New York, removed 13 readers over concerns that personal information could be collected and inappropriately shared. However, the city has moved toward another license plate reader provider rather than abandoning the technology completely. Officials in Troy, New York took a different approach, reaching an agreement in May to restrict how the city can use its Flock cameras following weeks of political wrangling. Mayor Carmela Mantello and City Council President Sue Steele finalized the policy after a 60-day negotiation period. Under the new rules, license plate information can only be shared with outside agencies on a case-by-case basis, while use of the cameras for immigration enforcement is expressly prohibited. Why? Why that in particular? If it's being used to track criminals, these people are criminals, why is that an issue? The agreement also requires annual audits of Troy's program, with reports submitted to the mayor and city council to provide greater oversight and transparency. In California, Mountain View shut down its Flock network after discovering that several federal agencies had accessed vehicle information without the city's authorization. Santa Cruz and Los Altos Hills also ended their agreements amid concerns about immigration enforcement. cross-agency searches, and whether officials could retain meaningful control over information collected from local drivers. Cambridge, Massachusetts terminated its contract after Flock technicians installed 2 cameras without the city's knowledge, weeks after officials had deactivated and removed 16 readers. The city called the unauthorized installation a material breach of trust. Or could it have been a mistake? Maybe. Brooklyn Park and Columbia Heights, Minnesota also ended their agreements following concerns about data access, with residents expressing fears that locally collected records could potentially be obtained by federal immigration authorities. In Connecticut, Windsor shut down its readers over privacy, data security, and previous access by federal and out-of-state agencies. Killingworth later followed, citing public opposition costs and what it said was evidence that its 4 cameras had provided little value to local policing. The Daily Mail has contacted Flock Safety for comment. The implication there is they didn't reply, and they are naughty. Well, interestingly, the difference between the Flock cameras that they're discussing here and ULEZ in the UK is you get fined in the UK if you're driving into areas that are low emissions and you are driving a high emission vehicle. So there's a big difference there. These are passively recording people and police are searching those records. Strangely, the biggest recurring point you pulled out there was immigration. So this is an anti-ICE sentiment. Arguments about whether ICE are some kind of Gestapo disappearing people off the streets and putting them into concentration camps. You could also apply that to general policing. Prisons are concentration camps in a way. Police are disappearing people off the streets, but they happen, I hope, to be criminals. So I don't really see eye to eye with a lot of these lefties on that subject, and it appears this article doesn't either. I'm not sure, aside from the fact that we're concerned of surveillance in general, what the big beef is here. These are cameras in public spaces. You don't have the right to stop people collecting footage in public spaces, so this is not going to go away. If it's useful to the police, they'll find some other way to mount these cameras, some other place to do it. And I don't know why we've got our feathers in a ruffle about ICE arresting illegal migrants. That really doesn't compute for me, but it obviously does for you, Stacey, because you wrote this article, and well done. Thank you very much for this very interesting article. Surveillance is only going to get more surveilly. Enjoy your privacy while you still have it, and I don't think you do. It's just an illusion. There is none. There's no such thing as privacy anymore, so you better be a good pig. But that is going to be it for now. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you hit that like button if you do indeed like me. Thank you very much. And the only thing I have left to say is, Pigwig, out.
Oink, oinkity, snort, schnuffle, schnuffle, squee, oink, oink, ree, squeal, snort, snort, oinkity, squee. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, ree, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 ree, 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 oh. Snort, schnuffle, oink, squee, squeal, ree, snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, oink, schnuffle, ree, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, ree, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 ree, 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 oh. Oink, oinkity, snort, schnuffle, schnuffle, squee, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, ree, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, ree, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 ree, 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 oh. Squeal, squeal. Snort, shuffle, oink, ree, squeal, ree, snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, 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 snuffle, ree, squee, snort, oink, squeal, oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, ree, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 ree,